What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Raptors Report. It's time to talk about the Toronto Raptors because there was some news regarding Bruce Brown that came out, and Evan Sidri was stating that the Raptors are preparing to trade Bruce Brown this offseason, according to Doug Smith of the Toronto Star. The Knicks and Lakers were two teams that aggressively pursued Brown at the trade deadline. Expect plenty of contenders willing to offer their first round pick for Bruce Brown. So for today's video, I've come up with three trades that the Raptors could do involving Bruce Brown. So if you're ready to watch, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you wish to hit the subscribe button as well, that'd be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, for these trades that I've come up with, I just wanted to let you guys know it is going to be hard to get first round picks, considering that teams like the Denver Nuggets can't necessarily match the salary, and they are down bad in terms of tax apron. So it's not as if Bruce Brown is just making $6, $8, $7, $8 million where you can just trade him and acquire a first round pick. You do have to come close to matching some salaries if the contenders are expected to trade for Bruce Brown. I also didn't include the Knicks guys just because the Knicks have so many good role players. I really firmly believe this when I say this. They're saving their first round picks for potentially a star, maybe Donovan Mitchell, maybe someone else becomes available in the offseason. The NBA is always crazy. So let's talk about trades. Let's get into our first trade here. And this involves one of the teams that was being reportedly interested in Bruce Brown. That is the LA Lakers. And this involves giving the Bruce Brown to the LA Lakers, giving Bruce Brown to the Los Angeles Lakers and Jalen McDaniels as well in return for Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, and for the Raptors to acquire those two players and take on some salary for a couple of seasons. This gives the Lakers a chance to really just not involve that second year of Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent. As you see there, they've got 2-year contracts, whereas Bruce Brown and Jalen McDaniels have 1-year contracts. And the Lakers are doing the Raptors a favor by getting Jalen McDaniels here because he hasn't been good with the Raptors, not what most fans expected. And in return for that, the Raptors do acquire 2 second-round picks, one in next year's draft and one in 2030. Now, I do want to state that Fanspo did not allow me to trade the Lakers' first-round pick this year, which the Pelicans have the chance to either take that pick or, maybe just allow the Lakers to pick there and then wait till next year. So they do have that option, which is why the trade machine didn't allow me to involve that pick. But even so, I don't think realistically you're getting a pick there unless you're taking a terrible, downright terrible contract back. But this trade is fascinating for several reasons. The Raptors aren't a great defensive team. Gabe Vincent, yes, he had a rough season, rough start to his Lakers career in the first season, barely played, but when he did play, he played some really good defense as well. And it gives the Raptors a little bit of, that defensive guard, if you want to call it. He's 6'3", so it's really nice there. And of course, Rui Hachimura, power forward, he's making $17 million, which is a decent amount. But when you take a look at his stats here, I mean, he is, like I said, he is only 26 years old, fits the timeline well, 6'8", 230 pounds. The Raptors need a little bit more size. They need forwards. He's a power forward. And when you look at the season he had with the Lakers, I mean, 42% from the three-point line, exceptionally well for his size. He did shoot it on limited threes, I would like to mention. And I mean, I don't want to call it a fluke season because, it was a lot of three-point attempts per game, even though it's only 3 throughout the season. And so it's not as if he took 10, three-pointers the entire season and he hit 3 or 4 of them, So he did take a decent amount of threes. The previous season, he hasn't been good at shooting three-point balls, but you know what? He is a serviceable role player. He's not going to be an exceptional role player at this stage of his career. I think we know what he's going to be. He's 12, 13 points per guy. He can really, really soak up some minutes for when Scotty Barnes goes to the bench, or even if you want to play small ball lineup. He is a really good defender that can guard some of the bigger players as well, and he's really mobile for his size, which is always good, and the Raptors need that. So again, not a tremendous rebounder, not a great passer, but a really smart role player, and the Raptors could definitely use one of those as well. So let's move on to trade number 2 here. Now, this one is my personal favorite, and I do want to say that, before people say, well, it doesn't include any picks, when you look at Masai Ujiri, what did he do with OG Anunoby? And unfortunately, with Pascal, it seemed like he didn't really have an option. But OG Anunoby, he said he wanted to acquire players. He wanted to acquire good players. And, in Bruce Brown's case, he's not going to get starter level players, but he is going to get good role players. So this is a 3-team deal involving the Toronto Raptors, of course, the Phoenix Suns, and the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, why are the Grizzlies in this? They need a center. And considering that they fell back in this year's NBA draft, I believe, to the 10th position, it isn't really aspiring because a lot of mock drafts had him selecting Donovan Clingan, which would have been perfect. Gives him a center, allows Jaren Jackson Jr. to play the power forward position. But Yusuf Nurkic, a massive center that the Grizzlies get. And let's be honest, Donovan Clingan isn't exactly falling to the 10th spot anyways, So this gives the Grizzlies some insurance at the center position, just gives him a lot of size, a little bit of rim protection. I'm not saying he's a spectacular rim protector, but he is a big body you can put in there. The Phoenix Suns get Bruce Brown and they get Derrick Rose. They get a point guard to run their offense. And in return, the Toronto Raptors get Brandon Clark and Nazir Little. Now, for those who weren't familiar with Nazir Little, let's start with him here. He did play for Portland quite a while before he moved to the Phoenix Suns, and he played really, really well. He at times I've seen him play at the center position, power forward position. He's a really strong player. Now, taking a look at his stats here, he's listed at 6'5", 220 pounds, 24 years old. So he's still very, very young. Don't be fooled by the stats, guys. He's a spectacular defender. The Raptors need some defense. And although his three-point shooting isn't really aspiring this past season, only 1.6 attempts per game, 30%. The previous season, he did shoot it a little bit better, but he's an inconsistent three-point shooter. He's not a high-volume three-point shooter. He's not going to be hitting a lot of threes. He's a decent, I shouldn't say decent. Again, had a really good season from the free throw line, shooting 85%, very limited, though, very limited attempts per game. As you see there, he's usually around the 75% mark. He's not a great at one particular thing. Like, he's not going to give you a ton of rebounds, assists, steal, or blocks, but what he does play is very mobile. Now, when you look at a lot of guys, like example, Gary Trent Jr. is also listed at 6'5". He plays more so like a 6'3" player. Nazir Little is the opposite. He's listed at 6'5". He plays like a power forward. His body type is very physical. He is very mobile, which is great for the Raptors. You need those switchable defenders. You need defense. You need defense. He can play in the forward position. You can slide him at the small forward, power forward position. If you want, if you get greedy and opposing centers aren't very massive, you can even play him at the center position at times. He can guard point guards. He can guard multiple positions, which is what exactly the type of player that the Raptors need, right? So Nazir Little, very, very interesting player. Again, still very young. 24 years old is quite young. Maybe the Raptors are maybe able to work on a few kinks and maybe develop a three-point shot, or maybe his scoring a little bit more. But let's talk about Brandon Clark, who the Raptors get in this trade as well. And I would absolutely love to have him on the Toronto Raptors. So Brandon Clark did have an injury, as you see there. He didn't play a lot of games with the Grizzlies up until, the end of the season, but he's a very, very good role player. He's not going to come in and he's not the type of player that's going to be playing, 30, 35 minutes a game, but he's one of those players that can soak in good, 15, 20, 23 minutes a game and really provide good quality minutes. As you see there, 27 years old. He is from British Columbia, my hometown where I live. Canadian kid, also really good size, 6'8", 215 pounds. He plays the power forward position. He's not giving you a lot of three-point shooting, similar to Nazir Little. Free throw percentages, again, I mean, ignore this season because it was just very limited games, but free throw shooting usually hovers around the 70% mark. He's a decent rebounder, not a great one, 5.5 rebounds, 5.3 this season. He's a decent passer, not a great one, but again, he does a little bit of everything. He can give you 8, 10 points a game, which honestly, what more do you need from good role players, right? But he is also very mobile, great at attacking the basket, great at getting alley hoops. Those Scotty Barnes IQ passes are going to be really good for Brandon Clark, and he's also very mobile as well. Again, the Raptors need defense. He's a very mobile power forward, and what more can you ask for in players in terms of what you're getting back? Because Bruce Brown, when the Raptors traded for him, although the Raptors were going in this retool, soft rebuild mode, he was supposed to be a good role player. He didn't really live up to that level. And here's to hope, if the Raptors do make a trade like this, Brandon Clark would be exceptional. Nazir Little would give him a lot of depth and would give him a little bit more size as well. So I really like this trade. And let's move on to our last trade here. Now, this one's probably the most simplest and probably, I would say, the most realistic, just because 3-team deals are very difficult to do in the NBA. But the Raptors and the Kings, Raptors get Harrison Barnes. They get 2 second-round picks. So the 45th pick in this year's NBA draft. The Kings did miss the playoffs and 2025 via Portland. So that could be anywhere from, 31 to 35, 36, depending on how well the Portland Trail Blazers do next season. And then in return, of course, the Sacramento Kings get Bruce Brown. Now, why do the Kings do this? They get off of Harrison Barnes' contract. As you see there, he's got 2 years left, $18 million. Bruce Brown, only $23 million. And the Kings are in a little bit of a difficult position in terms of spending money. So next free agency, they can spend a little bit more money, And I mean, they save Harrison Barnes is $18 million on the second contract, or excuse me, second year. Why Harrison Barnes, the Raptors? I mean, look, power forward, he's going to be a serviceable role player for 2 years. He's going to come in. He's constantly, as you see there, last 4 or 5 seasons, shot about 3, 4, 5 attempts per game. Constantly has hit 38+%. That is exceptionally well for someone his size, 6'8", 225 pounds. Again, he's a veteran you can bring in. He's about to be 32 in a week and a half. He hits his free throws really well. The Raptors aren't a good free throw shooting team. So he adds to a little bit of the weaknesses that the Raptors have. Good three-point shooting, good free throw shooting as well. And really, I know his point production has gone down, guys. He is getting older, but really, really good production. He's one of those players when you think about playoff rotations and, when you have coaches like Tibbs and Nick Nurse, if they were to really tighten that rotation when it comes to playoffs and have an 8, 9 man rotation, he's the type of player that'd probably be the 6, 7 man come in and provide good 25, 28 minutes a game during playoff games, really eat up some good minutes while your starters get some rest and also provide as well. So it's not as if he's just eating up minutes. He does score a lot as well. He does get you some rebounds. He's a decent passer, but again, at this stage of his career, he's going to be a really good mentor for a lot of Raptors young guys. He's going to be someone that can provide size, of course. You can play him at the power forward position, small forward. The Raptors need a backup small forward and power forward. They need some sort of defense. I mean, Harrison Barnes does have a habit. I've always had him in my fantasies every single season. This guy starts off, first 10, 15 games of the season, averaging something crazy like 18, 19 points a game, 5, 6 rebounds, a steal a game. He'll hit 2, 3 3-pointers a game, and then he really just falls off there. But look, Harrison Barnes is going to be exceptional for the Raptors if they do this trade, and you get a second round pick as well. And I want to quickly go back on the previous, chart here as well. Look, I know everyone is expecting first round picks, second round picks, especially when they're early. In this case, via Portland, next season isn't going to be bad at all, guys, because it always gives you the option to find hidden gems. And, I mean, 45th pick, yes, it isn't great. But remember, Norman Powell was drafted. Remember when Nikola Jokic was, drafted. I'm not saying that will be the case in this year's draft if a trade like this did go down, but never say never. You can find good role players. Maybe if you get lucky, you find someone like a Nikola Jokic, right? But I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think of these trades? What other teams could you see potentially wanting Bruce Brown? So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and that will be it for today's video. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.